Hello and welcome to the world of pride, and I am your host, the one and only Gibby Love, and Precious Love right here sleeping, and Snickers Love somewhere running around or sleeping. But anyway, this is the second part of my first part of the old Stompn Grond. First part was about the old neighborhood where I used to live when I was a child, but now this is going to be the video of when I was older, like when I was about 16, 17, 18. And this was my stomping grounds before I came down here to Georgia back in '86. Let's see if I give you a little tour, I guess, of the town at that time. I don't know what it's going to look like today when I go, or tomorrow when I go running around the stomping grounds. But let's say, like, if I'm out in the old neighborhood where my parents lived, at the front door, the front driveway, to the right and down to the bottom of the hill, there was a main road that went this way. I think it was called High Street, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly. Could be Main, could be something else, but I think it was called High Street. And if you took a left on that, went up the hill, and went past the intersection where Wynn was this way, and I forget what was over on this section. There was a C, I think it was Beagle, or Bugle, or start with a B, I think. Not sure, I can't remember. But if I kept going that direction, you'd eventually come to the city of Mount Pleasant. As you first come into the city, the first thing I remember is our bank was here. Isabella or something like that. Maybe that's where the street of it was. I'm not sure, but I know there was a Isabella. We had a while back when I was working at the Waffle House, we had a box of something. I forgot what it was. I don't remember if it was paper products or food or something like that. But on the label, it had Isabella Road, Mount Pleasant, where we lived, where my old stomping ground was. And we got a package from up there, so I don't remember what business was around there, but that's where the package came from, one of my old stomping ground area. And the bank was there. I don't remember too much more about that side, but I remember on this side, there was a place called Tuna, and it was old country style meat, cheese, candy, extra stuff, wine, little stores, looked like a wooden old kind of store, like you'd see like Andy Griffin or what's some of the other what's the other show, Green Acres, where they have a little country store where you have the flour and all that stuff, and that's the kind of store it was. There was a couple other businesses, I can't remember right off what they were, but I know there's some other stores there. Once in a while I'd go to, or something like that. There was a hardware store, a lumber store, or something in that area. So I don't really remember too much about that area. It was a trailer park, or there was a place in the back there where an old girl that I tried to, with, I dated for a little while, and she lived over behind that area, but that's basically all I remember about that area. Then we'd go up the hill, and I think the railroad track that went across the road, and that started the town, basically, and there were some apartments on one side, and one side of it was like college, and then you had college apartments all over town, stuff like that. But if you went up the hill and you kept going, I think, I don't remember if my street was on the first one or second one or something like that, but I think it was called Washington. And if you turned left on that main street that went into the city, and you went down this way, it was like maybe the second block, I think, second block. My apartment was right there. And the lady that lived on the corner, she lived on this corner, and then my apartment, and there was another apartment a couple houses here or something like that, and then that was the block. And I think I was in her house once or twice, you know, and she'd invite me over cookies, coffee, or whatever. And I remember the kitchen, that was the most important place I went to. I don't remember the rest of the house, but then she had a little grass area there, and then the garage. And above the garage was an apartment, and that's where I lived. That was my stomping ground, my stomping ground. And the garage had, you know, a couple cars and some other stuff in there, and the heater for the house, and the gas and stuff like that, gas heater. But you had to go around the side of the house. You had a door for the garage, and if you go into the back of the garage, there was a door, and that was the door to go up to the apartment. Yeah, the stairs going up the apartment, and when you like stood at the front of the door, you had a little box here, and that's where the mailman would put the mail in, and then you could get the mail either when you came in this way, or you could put, you know, go inside the house, you know, where the stairs was. You could open up a gate and get or a little door and get your mail from inside, so you wouldn't have to go outside and freeze your ass off. You could just stay inside. But it was cold in that hallway because, you know, no heat ever got in there except for if I left it open during the day or something like that, or during the day when it was cold and everything, and I didn't want to have to freeze my ass off, you know, when I came home from what I was doing. So sometimes I would leave it open. You know, it was pretty safe up there at that time. Nowadays, I don't think I would do that. I would bolt the top and bolt the bottom, you know. But, you know, you'd walk up the steps and take a right and open up the door, and that would be the living room. You'd walk in, right there on the side of you when you walked in was a big grate in the ground, and that's where the gas heater was. The heat would come out. That was the only heat you had in the house. You know, and then there was a little closet in the corner over there above the staircase or whatever. And, you know, I didn't use all of the room. You know, I mainly stayed on, like, if you came in the door and the heater was on this side, I stayed on this side over here because it was like where the kitchen went, and the kitchen door was. You had a bedroom door, and then the living room part here, and I had my TV and my radio and stuff over here, and then my bedroom. It was, you know, a big bedroom, not too bad. I don't think it was queen. I think it was a full-size bed or something enough for two people to sleep in. You know, I had a little closet behind the door with the attic space where you could climb up in the attic and stuff like that. And kind of a bad thing happened there. The girl that got me down here to Georgia, you know, basically came over a couple times. We got it on and some of that. And one time she stayed overnight, and Sunday morning came along. My parents came to pick me up, and I was like, oh man, I'm sick. You know, because I didn't want to come in the house, you know, but you know how parents are. We got to investigate. We got to see what you're doing and all that shit. And they were looking in the refrigerator, and they looked in the bedroom, and before they came in, I was like, get in the attic. You know, don't stay down here. Get in the attic and be quiet, you know. You know what this girl does? Being full of stupidity and idiocy, she was too damn lazy to get up in the attic. Where it's too good for her to get in the attic, you know. She gets under the covers, it looks like a dead body. You know, and I know my dad saw her. I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh, my dad's gonna kill me, but he never did say anything down the road, you know. Still to this day, I don't think he ever knew, or if he did, I guarantee my mom and sisters would have been in the car ready for church. He probably beat the heck out of me. But she wasn't a good thing in my life, you know. But if I hadn't had her in my life, I wouldn't have been down here. I wouldn't have had a good life for 30 years, and I wouldn't have had a wonderful first relationship, and I wouldn't have had a second great relationship, you know. But you know, yeah, I miss it a little bit up there. I wish I was back. Sometimes I wish me and the woman could come up there and live, but you know, right now, unless it's a miracle would be nice though. I like it a lot better down here, but you know, a lot of things have changed too, so it might not be as dreamy as it used to be. But if you went back out of the bedroom and went to the kitchen was kind of small. You know, it was just big enough for a table and the stove and all that. I remember, I think the refrigerator was here, and you had the stove on the back wall and the table here, and you had a little pantry closet, you know, above the stairs. And I remember one time during the winter time, I had the windows open because I was trying to cool off the room a little bit, because I guess when I was up north, it's a lot different than being down here. And now it's like it gets a little cold. I start freezing to death, and if it gets too hot, you know, I'm ready to go back up north, you know. But up there, I guess it was about maybe 10 degrees, maybe 20 degrees difference in temperature. Like where it's 100 degrees down here, it feels, and when it was like 90 up there, it felt like 100 down here, you know. And when it's like 40 and 30 down here, it was probably 30 and 20 up there. So it was probably about 10 degrees colder up there. And during the summertime, during the wintertime, I used to, I never had air conditioning, you know, so I didn't know about that until I moved here, in this area here. For the last 20 years, I had actually, first time I had air conditioning. And I love it. I couldn't live without it now. I mean, I could if I had to, but I don't want to. It would be hot in the house, and I opened up the window one time, and I took some plate out of the oven because I had warmed it up, and silly me, not thinking about cold and hot, thought, well, I put it in the windowsill to let it get cold, you know, cool it off a little bit. Sure, it cooled it off. It broke the plate, and half food went in the house, half food went down behind the house. So I was like, oh man, I don't remember if I ever went down outside and picked up the plate. But yeah, that was the kitchen. Now the bathroom, that was a pain in the ass. If you ever had to go take a dump or take a piss on the toilet, you had to go into the bathroom because it was real small. I mean, it was like you had your toilet here, the sink, the shower. I mean, it was just big enough to where when you walked in there, that's all you could do. That was it. It was so small. And the door to the bathroom, when you opened it up, it would hit the toilet. That's how small the bathroom was. And if you want to take, like I said, you had to take a dump or take a piss, you had to get over here close to the bathtub, close the door, get behind it. So if somebody walked in on you, they'd bump into you, you know, they'd hit you with your toe or your knee or something like that to get in. So it was real tiny. But basically, the only thing I really remember in that apartment was, you know, my friend Tom would come over, and once in a while we'd play Lego Wars. You know, we'd just take Legos. You know, we didn't like build with them and crash them and stuff like that. Maybe once in a while we did, but we were, you know, Lego Wars. It was like we'd just like grab a couple of them, we'd like put 2 or 3 together, and we'd go, you know, or we'd build one and pretend it was a gun or something like that, and we'd hide behind the sofa. So it was pretty cool, you know, it was pretty fun. My rent wasn't that much back then. I mean, to me, it wasn't, compared to down here, I guess, $190 a month, and that included all the bills and stuff like that. Cause I think the water and the gas and phone and all that was included. I just had to pay the electricity or something like that. But it was a real nice place to live. But now if we get back on the main road and go down further down that way, there was a tea house, a little sandwich tea house. I remember going there one time and eating and having some coffee or tea. We went further down. There was a movie theater around the corner of this one building, and that was where one movie theater was. And then we had another movie theater almost right across the street from that. It was like on this side of the road. And then if you went further down, there was I guess that was my IGA grocery store. There was a laundromat over there in that area, and I used to go and do that. Then there was a five and dime store, and there was other stores, like I think it was a clothing store, and there was a section I remember going down the basement where the kids, little girls and boys' clothes were in the bottom, and I really don't remember too much more about that area, but I remember we had a library off a little bit down further off to the left a little bit to the library, and then there was a road that went, I remember if it was where the five and dime store was, if that road continued out of town that way or wherever, but you went that direction. Behind the library, across the street on the other side, was a little tiny animal park. It had a big, I remember, I think when you curved around the corner or something like that, you'd have a little pathway that went behind some of the stuff, and you had a big cage for the bear, and you had another spot for raccoons, and they had some deer and another one, and I don't remember what other animals they had, but that was there. And on the other side of it, there was part of the cemetery. And if you, if you walked behind that fence or something, and you'd go through the cemetery, there was a pathway, and on the other side of the cemetery was our old fairgrounds, and it had, I think it had like a little concession, like a bandstand, baseball field, or a section in the middle, and you had a park on one side, and you had a park on the other side. I don't remember too much about it, but that's where we used to have our carnivals and stuff like that, our little bands and stuff like that. And if you went if you went that direction out of town, then you would find the new fairgrounds. They had bigger auditorium. It wasn't like inside; it was outside. Where they had little race cars and horse derbies, and monster pull and monster trucks and tractor pulls and stuff like that. So yeah, they had that going on out there, and I remember the church was involved with that a lot because we used to go out there as church members, and we had a little concession stand on the top, and we'd have to go up there, and I'd have to work. I'd have to get out there and peanuts, popcorn. Every so often, my dad would have to come down and be like, "Hey, get back to work. Quit watching the show. We're not here to watch the show. We're here to help the church out." So that was going on, but that's all I remember about that. That was like our downtown area, going out that toward that direction. Now, if I went to the right of the house, or if you're saying on the front of my driveway to the left, that would go towards the town, down towards college area. And I remember if I went straight down that road, I'd end up hitting the college area, and I think that was Main Street. I can't remember exactly. I think that was Main Street, and on one end of it was like the college where my dad's business, like right there, where my dad's place. I think it was Hall. I think it starts with G. I can't remember, G Hall or something like that. That's where my dad worked. But right there in front of it, there was on the corner spot, there was an arcade. It was called the Malt Shop. And I remember it like crazy. It had 3 different doors to it. And I used to call these doors like different doors. One was like the Saturday and Sunday door. That was like my big time, that was my elegant doorway where I could come in and I didn't have to worry about being hiding out or whatever. But I would walk in and I'd be like, yeah, the big celebrities here, the big spenders here and everything, because I wouldn't have to worry about, I wouldn't be worried about anything. So I'd go in the front door. I knew my dad was working and I was off that day, I would go in the side door. I would kind of like, hey, you can't see me. Sometimes he might see me, sometimes he might not see me, that kind of thing. And that was the side door. But most times I would like sneak up one way, or I'd usually come in the other driveway, the other end of the driveway, but there was a little driveway that went behind the buildings, and there was a door in the back, and that was 90% of the time that's where I went. I knew my dad was working Monday through Friday. Sometimes on the weekend he'd go in there and do some work, but that one, wasn't as bad, so I'd go in the side door, but mainly I would go in the back. But let's say I'm going in the back door, most times. And when you walk in the back, you go in a little hallway, walk in the door this way, and first thing you see on the left was there was doors, bathroom doors right there. And you pass the bathroom doors, you come into the open area. The first thing you see is a big screen on the wall. And I remember that was the first time I'd ever watched Gallagher, the comedian, doing the crack monster. It was pretty funny, watching that. But on the side of that, there was little stairs that went down. And if you went down in the basement part, they had a pool. They had a couple pool tables. The football thing where you turn the handles to make the hockey player or the soccer players kick the ball and all that stuff. And I think they did have one of those air hockey machines down there too. And then that was where most of the pinball machines were down there. And a lot of the kids would go down there and smoke, so they wouldn't get in trouble. They could go out and smoke. Guys, the owner would let them go out and smoke in the basement. That's the only place you could go smoke because they didn't want you smoking up front. There was a lot more kids up there and stuff like that. But if you went back upstairs in that first main part, that was the kind of the malt shop area. If you like, and once here's where the back door entrance was, and then the downstairs part here. Well, you had like along the wall, you had some of the a couple of games, but mostly those were like they put the games, like they had tabletop games where you could push drinks and your food on top of it. It had kind of a glass thing on there, and then you put your hand underneath the table, and you could move the buttons and everything, and you could see the game as you're playing it because you were looking up at it and looking down at it, and it was pointing up. Then they had a couple of tables where you could sit there and relax, watch the big TV and stuff like that while you were eating the snacks and everything. And then there was a door here, an entryway here, next to the stairs. It had a door and that went out to the front part. But if you went past that, that's where the cooking area was. You could get chicken, hamburgers, french fries, onion rings, pizza. You get ice cream, malts. I mean, that's where the food was there. And then the front window was over there, the side window. I call it the front window, because that's mostly where I came in. If I wasn't coming in the back door, that was the front door. The other window, where off on the main street, that was kind of the duck window. It's like, I didn't stay by the front door. If I did, if there was a game right there, I would try to stay on the side of it, hide behind it so my dad couldn't see me, but that was like the danger window. But right by the door there, they had on the outside, they had a horse that you could ride for a quarter, whatever it was, but right there at the front window, there was a game, and I've never seen it again, but it was like a tabletop game. And you had the screen on the top and everything, and it was a football game. But you had these balls, like rolling balls, and you would roll the ball back, forward, and stuff like that, and that would direct the player on your team what way to go. And you would roll it really fast, try and make the player run fast, and the other guy on the other side would have to roll the ball to catch up, or roll the ball to come back, or whatever. And it was a pretty fun game. I liked it a lot. Now, if we go to that door on the side, the entryway to the front part, that was where all the big games were. I remember Space Ace back in 86 or 85. Space Ace was not Space Ace. Dragon Slayer, that was the big game at that time. And it was so cool because they had the game, and then they had a big TV screen above the game, so people could look up at the screen instead of all over the guy's shoulders trying to look at the screen on there. You could just sit back and watch the big TV don't think it was but 30-inch, maybe 40-inch at the most, but it was a big screen up there. You could watch the game. They had a couple TVs around that area, but not very many. But they had all the old games like Donkey Kong, back then Donkey Kong and Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and Duck Hunt and Hogan's Alley. All those games were like popular back then. That was before Nintendo came out with their little system, and they had Galaga and I mean there were so many games I remember, but I just don't remember the names of them. But I think like in that back section when you went like right there I think right there before you went down the stairs to go in the basement, they had one game there I think, and it was I think it was there. It could have been in the basement, but it was a tank game where you'd look at the screen. I think tanks were green and whatever, you could go in there, blow up tanks. So that was one of our favorite games. Tom and myself played those games. We played pinball. We'd always hang out there a lot. But there was one game, it was like futuristic game. It was like a hologram game, and it was like somehow the way the game was set up, it had a camera in the bottom that would shine up against the view or whatever would shine up, and it would hit the back glass or something. It was sort of like this kind of thing. It had two screens or something like that. Somehow it would project it somehow to where the object would be like, here's the screen or the top of the glass, and the little characters would be like right here, and they looked like it was just standing there on top of the screen, and you could put your hand through it and all that stuff, and that was cool as heck to see that. That was futuristic in my book. But I think there was a store on that side of it. On the other side, on one side it was a college store or something like that for books and stuff. And then the college was over here on that side. And then if we went down this way, there was not much down there. It was just a lot of houses and the college and stuff. So, and you could go all the way down that, and that would run into, I can't remember what it is. That was US 27, I think, but it was actually 75. The interstate basically went right through our town. Basically, I think it did. If I don't remember, or do remember, but that was our uptown. That was our uptown spot. But before we hit the uptown, I'm gonna hit a couple other spots. Our church was kind of like where my apartment was, and there's a high school. I mean, our elementary school. Yeah, there's an elementary school in town. I mean, no, was it elementary? Yeah, it was elementary school. Our middle school was like down there where Tuna was. When you come out of town towards my parents' house, I think not Tuna, but our middle school was over in that area. So you had to go out of town to go to middle school. But that was history once I got into town and I was a high schooler. But I think our church was kind of like a little bit, around that area. So if you went from my apartment, went like down one street, maybe two streets, and then went all the way down, and right before you hit the main street going through the town and everything, that's where our church was. And they remodeled it a couple times, I think. It used to be the pastor's house on one side. They tore that down and extended the church out a little bit further across the driveway that used to be there, and made it a little bit bigger and stuff like that. But I think now the church is basically like way out there where my parents live, right up the road. Not the road to go into town, but it was like to go towards Wademan, the little town out there. I think that's where our church was out there. That's where the new church is. They moved out of town, I guess. Same as here, we used to have a lot of churches and stuff like that, but because of the bad population that came into town, most of the big churches, went out of town, and that's probably what happened was, it got kind of, and they all moved out of town. So now the churches out in the country where it's less, less chaotic, I guess. But let's see here. Talking about the college, I really don't remember a lot about the college, but I remember that there was a bowling alley in one building. I think there was a little theater in one of the buildings that I used to, auditorium where I used to watch movies once in a while. They were free. There was a swimming pool. There was a basketball court where they used to have basketball. You could watch it on the TV. Football field way out there. We used to go watch football. And past that, there was, I forgot what the name of the road was, but there was a home out there where they helped the physically challenged. And I got stuck in there one time, I guess, because my parents thought I was needing some help, to grow up or to survive. And I had a little apartment out there I had to share with another person, so I hated that place. But you gotta do things sometimes you don't want to do. And then but if we go towards, like, out this direction, we go towards the main street. We go by the main street here, the uptown section. We had 2 McDonald's up there, I think Burger King, some other restaurants. It's been a while, Wendy's. It's been a while since we've been up there, but some of the main places we used to have one restaurant, Burger Chef. It's probably not there anymore. I think Burger Chef went out of business or something, but it was like competition with Burger King until Burger King took over and blew them out of the water. But I used to love that place, Burger Chef. They had another place, I forgot what it was, but it was a fishing, not a fishing sandwich, it was a fish fry, they call it fish and chips. That's what, fish and chips. And it was cool because when you came in, you didn't have anybody come to your table. You had the menu right there at the table, and you had a little telephone, and you pick up the phone, go, yes? Oh, I'd like to order this and this and this, and then you put it down, and then you pick it up again and say, can I get another refill? And most times I would take the glass up there, but they sometimes come out with the glass. And then you'd say, okay, I'm done, I'm ready for my bill. And then you'd walk up, and they'd meet you at the register, and you pay for it and everything. But what I thought was cool is they had a jukebox in one section of the room, but then every table had a little jukebox, and it had a little speaker on there, and you could play your music while you were right there at the table and stuff like that. I used to love eating there, whenever I could, because that was cool to have the popular songs too, Madonna and all of them, and I thought that was so cool. And then I'm not too sure about other restaurants up there. We did have a Sweet Onion restaurant. It's sort of like a Ruby Tuesdays or Applebee's type style. I mean, it wasn't probably as famous, but it was pretty cool up there. And we used to go there sometimes. We had a Big Boy down here. They call it Shoney's, but up there they kind of had a Big Boy. We used to eat there all the time. And I remember that they had in the middle booth thing. You had a table on one side and you had a table on the other. And when you had a big party and you wanted to have everybody sit at one table instead of moving tables, all they would do is there was a kind of a glass piece or a plastic piece, and would pull that up out of it, and then you'd have the big open space where you could like pass the food and stuff like that, or talk to your people without having the barricade in front of you. I know, like, if you went all the way down to the end of this street that way, then you had another street that would go that direction, and it would go all the way out to Saginaw and Midland and stuff like that. And they had a big mall up there. They had another McDonald's up around that area and stuff like that. But I hardly went that way unless we went out of town, Or if you went, I think that direction, that's the way to go to the new fairgrounds that we had out there and stuff like that. We did have around that area, or maybe I think it was the other direction, but up in that direction, if you went up that direction and we took a right into the neighborhoods where people lived and stuff like that, that was where Tom lived over there with his parents. And I think they were German. he lives in I think he still lives in California, or no, I think he moved to Texas now. I think he's in Texas now at a time. He's he's about my age, a little bit older maybe, but he's got a wife and kids and stuff, and he lives out there. I haven't seen him except for on video or something like that for a long time, and I talked to him once in a blue moon. Yeah, his mom and dad lived over there and stuff like that. I don't remember too much about there, but there was a sunny land or Sunnyfield, and that's where the people that lived at that place on the other side of the football place, they would football stadium, they would go to there, and it was kind of a school place, and they would do things like make little projects and stuff and sell them, and they had a place where they would go and get the boxes and help break them down or something, get money for it, and things like that. The only other thing up in this area that I remember on the main street was the music shop, and we used to go there and get, Tom would go there and get music for the piano because he was playing piano, and once in a while I'd go in there and look at the stuff, but it wasn't really my hangout. Now if we went down that main street, the high street or whatever, and you crossed the big street that you come in and out of town with, if you kept going around up the street about a block and went around the corner, that's where our high school was. So I guess that's why that was called the High Street. That's where the high school was. And I wasn't too into that school. I wasn't, I don't remember too much about it because it wasn't one of my favorite things to do. I hated school. So yeah, that was about the only thing I remember. I mean, I remember there was a lot of kids that would climb in the drains under the school and stuff like that, but that's all I remember about that. But if we went down this way on the main street section, we had a movie theater up there, the Giant Way, which was kind of like Walmart a little bit. You had groceries on one side, and you had clothing and other stuff on the other side. There was a record store I used to go to all the time because I listened to tapes and stuff, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they did have Christian music there, or it might have been the other direction. It might have been a Christian bookstore up there or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I used to get my Christian music from there. But I'd always go to that record store because I always liked to see all the album covers and get music and stuff like that. And then I think that was basically all I remember. I mean, there was probably other stuff around there, but then if I went across from the movie theater, because the high school was like behind the movie theater and so that, and then across from that, on the other side of the street, was an arcade, and it was called Dolphin Coin, I think, or maybe it was Oasis. I think it was the Oasis. I think that was the Oasis there. And it was like Gold's Gym was over there, and there was a little pizza joint or a little restaurant in there, and I used to go in, and you could go in the front door and out the side door where and behind that was where the Gold's Gym was and stuff like that. And that was where my dad would go and exercise. And one time he caught me there while I was playing video game, and I was supposed to be in school, and I was like playing the game, and I just happened to look in the mirror part, the glass part, and I was like, shit, that's my dad behind me. I was like, yo, dude, come here, man. Finish playing the game, and Dad's like, what are you doing? I'm in school right now. I ran out of there as quick as I could and got back to school, because I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble, But that was the first time I ever really paid attention to MTV because I didn't have all that good cable and stuff like that. And one of the songs they played on the TV was Some Guys Have All the Luck by Rod Stewart. And that was the first time I ever heard of Rod Stewart, around that time. I never knew about, May or whatever the heck the song is or whatever, but that was the only thing in that area. They had a couple stores, maybe a pizza joint in there, but that wasn't one of my favorite pizza joints. my favorite pizza joint was like, if you went behind the college in the back part over there, they had a couple dorms and stuff like that, but they had a little tiny, just a little section right there, and they had the arcade on one side section, and it was a little bit, it was kind of smaller than the one up there by the Oasis, but that one's called the Dolphin Coin, or I think it's Dolphin Coin, and it was a smaller one, but it was cooler. It was cooler because, like, if I wanted to, get out and get away from everybody, and I wanted to venture and stuff like that, they had a little place called H&R Pizza, and I used to love eating there. And then as soon as I got through there, I'd go over there after I was trying to digest my food, and I would do that on the weekends, like Saturday night or something like that. Once in a while, we'd go way out there and stuff like that, because we used to bike everywhere and stuff like that. So it was a pretty fun little town, where you could, had a lot to offer, and it was a lot of fun to go out and do all these things and stuff like that. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be doing today. Tomorrow, hopefully. Like I said, my plans are is I'm going to get up there today and spend a little time with the family, look around, maybe take some snapshots, do a couple videos, and then tomorrow I'm going to try to get up early in the morning and, either get my dad to throw my butt in the truck with a bicycle and have him take me to town, drop me off, and then I'm going to ride around all day or part of the day, until I get tired, and then I'll probably either bike home or whatever, because it's a good 10-15 minutes out of town. And I know the biggest thing is the hills out there. There's one hill I literally have to get off and walk up the hill, and it's bigger than some of the hills in our town. Whew. But yeah, that's what my goal is. I'm gonna try to do Stompn Grond tomorrow, and then Saturday I'm gonna give that to the family and stuff like that, because it's gonna be my mom's birthday. It's gonna be there, and probably gonna have a party out there, because they were talking about setting up tables and chairs. When I told my dad I was gonna go into town and do some video and pictures, he's like, "But I need you to help me set up tables and chairs." I'm like, "How many chairs and tables are we talking about? 1,000 chairs? It shouldn't take but 30 minutes to an hour to do all that, just, a couple chairs, but, gotta humor them." But anyway, that's my video, and I'll be back Monday, and, and I'll download some of these videos, or try and download some of them up there, while I'm up there tonight, the next couple days, or whatever. But y'all have an awesome day and a perfect tomorrow. I'll catch y'all at the Sketching Post until we meet again. I guess I'll let y'all take care of my catnip. Be good to her, be good to him, whatever it is. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.